Hello, you're listening to Wine Blast with me, Susie Barry, and my husband and fellow Master of Wine, Peter Richards. Our aim on this show is always to bring wine to life with a smile, and in this episode we're going to try to do that with an extra bit of drama and intrigue and jeopardy, aren't we?
Yeah, that's the plan. Welcome everyone, as ever, to our wine-soaked world. Now, this programme isn't a normal one. There will be wine, there's always wine, but we'll also be getting into things like illegal art, courtesy of Hendog, the brilliant but anonymous street artist.
How cool is that?
I know.
Really?
It would be so cool to be anonymous, wouldn't it?
I'd love to be anonymous.
We'll
We'd all over that, wouldn't we?
Get into that later. We'll be trying to do some good in this unforgiving world of ours, helping protect the environment and our precious planet. And we have some exclusive reveals, some of which have been half a decade in the build-up, haven't they?
They have. No one could ever accuse us of rushing into things, could they?
No.
Anyway, this is all about our big English wine adventure, a slightly madcap project through which we've helped make 3 one-off, small production English wines, and all the profits will go to charity. Now, the project is nearing its climax. We've got some big announcements to make. The wines are about to go on sale on the 25th of November, 2021. And it does feel very much like our necks are on the line.
It does, doesn't it? Remind me how we ever signed up for this one, or who signed us up for it. I mean, maybe that's the risk when wine is your job, isn't it? There's always going to come a point when, you've enjoyed just a little bit too much of the stuff, and you decide to embark on some sort of harebrained scheme like this.
Yeah, it certainly got
we are now.
way bigger than we ever anticipated, didn't it? And I'm blaming you, to be honest.
Okay, right.
I always do. Anyway, but whatever the impetus, it has been a lot of fun since we embarked on it over 5 years ago. And we started, if you recall, and I'm sure you do, by harvesting some very fine Chardonnay grapes from the 2016 vintage with Hampshire winery Hattingley Valley.
I think harvesting is a grand term for what we did. I think we just sort of wandered around waving bunches of grapes to people. And
sticking them in buckets and annoying everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
we got in the way, didn't we, really?
We pretty much just got in the way.
Yeah. Anyway, at the same time, we did launch a competition for people to suggest a name for the wine and a charity, probably most importantly for us to support. Yeah. So those are 2 of our big announcements.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, I reckon that some people might have forgotten. It's been so long, they might have forgotten they ever entered.
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, they might get a very nice surprise, mightn't they? Because yes, we will be announcing, shortly, after 5 years of the competition running and hundreds of entries, our 2 winners.
Yeah.
It is 2, obviously, because we've got 1 for the name, 1 for the charity, each of whom will be receiving a free gift box set of all 3 of these wines worth £120.
Ooh.
It's good, isn't it?
I know.
That's worth winning, surely.
Did I enter?
And of course, at the same time, we will be revealing our charity partner and the name for our sparkling wines.
Yeah, so if anyone out there is hoping for Winey McWineface, I am afraid one of our exclusive announcements is you may be disappointed.
Yeah, sorry about that. We are such killjoys, aren't we? Really?
We try.
Oh, goodness. But anyway, to cheer you all up, we did record the moment when we tried all 3 finished wines for the first time, which was nerve-wracking, wasn't it?
Yes.
What if all this work had been for nothing? What if we're actually hopeless at making wine?
Yeah.
All to come.
All to come. So we also tried the wines with some classic foods, from pork pie and chutney to cheese straws and fish and chips, and we'll be reporting on that as well.
Yeah, we'll also be hearing from our chosen charity as to how we can all be a force for good. And here's a snippet of what's to come on that front.
The money from this particular project couldn't be going to a more valuable place. I would firmly encourage all listeners to go out and really support the big English wine adventure and indulge in some amazing wines that have been created by some brilliant English producers and winemakers. You'll have a good heart in knowing that where the funds from those will be going. Incredibly generous, and we can't thank you enough.
So we'll be revealing our charity partner very shortly, but we probably need to, I guess, start at the beginning, don't we, and explain how this whole thing works, why we ever started it in the first place. I mean, to be honest,
I'm not sure we know, do we?
Interesting if you explain that to me. Also, just go into a little bit the generous and brilliant people and companies who we've worked with on it all. And I guess also, really importantly, how you lovely people out there can get involved, support the project, buy the wines, help the charity in doing so, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, lots to get on with. Question is what order to do it in. But I think probably best to start at the beginning because that's how stories work, of course, and then build up to the big reveals at the end.
It's nice. It's a classic formula.
Yeah.
I think that's nice, but equally I think we should smatter in here some announcements as we go along.
I don't think we've ever smattered on the podcast.
Smatter.
Have we ever smattered before?
Let's smatter.
Let's smatter. Let's do it.
It sounds as chaotic as this process has been, I think. So, right, so here we go.
Go on,
One of our many
smatter.
announcements. Oh, and just to add to the chaos, I've got, just to do our announcements, I have stolen these, our son's...
You have?
Our son's
Drumsticks.
drumsticks and a small thing.
Is this because my drum rolls are usually so
yeah,
rubbish?
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to break your heart, but I'm just getting this in.
Go on, go.
Which really, our sound effects has reached a new level. Our special effects department has come up with this. And so
an amazing
the exclusive announcement here is that we will be selling the wines not only via Hattingley Valley's website, huge thanks to Hattingley Valley, but we can exclusively reveal here we also be selling them via the Wine Society.
Amazing.
And I need to get some drum lessons. Anyway, on the 25th of November 2021, as you've said, we will be doing an Instagram Live with the Wine Society, and the wines will go on sale right there and then. And I think it's worth stressing too, there are only tiny amounts available of these wines.
People always say that, don't they?
They
but
do, but
it's true.
We can
It
give you
really
numbers,
is
we'll do
true.
it in a bit. They're very limited production. Cream of the crop, unique, once-in-a-lifetime wines. Are you buying this?
Yeah. You're bigging them up here.
I am. You need these wines in your life, is all I'm trying to say. No pressure. But, make sure you listen to the rest of this programme to get all the details. Get that date in your diary. Watch our social channels and website for further announcements. Just, I don't know, be ready. If you're listening after and they've all sold out, sorry. But anyway, you can just still join in the fun.
You can, indeed. And I think that's probably enough sales patter
Part of which
for
is
now.
mine.
So, to recap briefly, the project began as a bit of fun to make some noise about the English wine scene, but with a charitable and collaborative angle. And Hattingley Valley were crucial, weren't they, to getting things off the ground.
Yeah. Simon Robinson and Emma Rice and the whole team at Hattingley have been hugely supportive right from the start. This project just wouldn't exist without them.
Mm-hmm.
I think most normal, sensible people would have told us to sort of take a running jump.
They would.
When we suggested doing this, but they did, to their credit, just the opposite. Very generously, knowing that the whole thing was for charity. They said right from the start they'd give us the grapes and the wine and the bottles, and so much more, including their time. And this is not to be underestimated. Not only man-marking us at harvest, but also
What's essential.
making films, doing blends and tastings, and even helping us, as I said, now sell the stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's,
appreciative.
for both of us, really been one of the most inspiring things about this project, working with people who are prepared to give their time, their expertise, their profits so generously. We can't deny we've had a lot of fun along the way, but there is also I know we've said it already, but a slightly scary element to this for us, and it's the fact that we are putting our necks on the line in the way that we don't normally do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have helped make these wines. We haven't made them, we helped make them.
Yeah. And I think that, our people who are doing it with us are doing the same to a certain extent as well. But, through all of this on a personal level, there's been that nagging fear, hasn't there? That, it's just woken me up very regularly. I don't know about you, in the middle of the night.
Nothing wakes me up in the middle of the night. No, sorry.
Not even this. Not even a raging thirst for wine. We won't get that. In a muck sweat, just waking up thinking, what if the wines are rubbish? What if no one gets involved? We don't know anything about selling wine. What if no one buys them?
Well, I suppose if no one bought them, we'd have a lot of once-in-a-lifetime English wine to drink, which wouldn't be too bad. But anyway, where's the fun without a bit of jeopardy? Come on.
Jeopardy.
You've got to have that, haven't you, in any good story. Anyway, the original idea was to do just one wine. So in 2016, a lovely vintage, we made a Blanc de Blanc sparkling wine from exclusively Hampshire fruit, 1/3 aged in oak, 10 grams per litre dosage, aged 4 years on the lees. Enough technical info.
When you say we made the wine...
Well, yes, yeah.
I think it's probably more correct to say,
helped.
We helped make the wine because
blend.
We were making all the big decisions with Emma Rice, weren't we, with Emma, head winemaker at Hattingley Valley.
Thank God for that.
Hugely experienced.
We had expert backup there. So when we'd regularly sit down with Emma to taste, to make the initial blend, or then to do the dosage. But we always knew she had our back, and she is, after all, one of the best winemakers in the country.
She really is, and they do great things at Hattingley. So we enjoyed doing that and working with Emma so much. We decided to do it all over again, didn't we?
I'm afraid we did. Mainly because we got so excited, didn't we, by the potential of Pinot Meunier.
That's our problem in life. We just get
We always get
overexcited.
overexcited. I know. But we did. We got really excited about Pinot Meunier in England, and particularly in Hampshire, actually, because that's where we are. I mean, in Champagne,
but also because the quality, the quality.
No, absolutely.
Here,
but in Champagne, it does tend to be quite often dismissed as just a blending component, good for fleshing out the mid palate of a basic, non-vintage wine. But in Hampshire, it really can be amazing. It just shows you how grapes perform differently in different places. You know, it can be really structured and serious. It's fresh, but also perfumed. So anyway, we thought, if we made a Chardonnay Blanc de Blanc in 2016, what about doing a Meunier-based blend in 2017?
And I think that's why these sort of things are dangerous, isn't it? Once you start, you
can't stop.
You can't help yourself. So we made another sparkling wine in 2017, totally different style. The idea with the Blanc de Blanc was to make something, seriously age-worthy, kind of, electric, sort of fizzing with pent-up energy and laser focus. But the idea of this blend, as it came to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was Meunier Chardonnay
blend. It was something to make something a bit richer, a bit more sort of perfumed, as you say, and kind of succulent in style, slightly sort of easier drinking.
Yeah, a bit earlier drinking. Again, we had a bit of oak in there, a third for some complexity. 9 grams per litre dosage, 3 years on the lees. Job done. Yeah. Anyway, we were all set to hang up our winemaking spurs, weren't we? And then, oh gosh, along came 2018.
2018, the vintage of the century.
Can't ignore 2018.
In the UK. Warm, ripe, abundant harvest. As far as I remember it, people were dancing naked through the streets.
That's how you remember it, yes. Yeah. Hey ho.
But no, I think, to speak generally, we've been getting pretty excited about the potential of the still wines in the UK, hadn't we, at that time?
Yes.
And particularly the whites like Chardonnay, but also the reds like Pinot Noir. And 2018 was, when it came along, we thought, this is the perfect chance to make a red Pinot Noir and show it really can be done here in England. Sort of Burgundy or broke, wasn't that?
Something like that. Anyway, in the spirit of adventure, we'd actually visited a brand new wine estate just getting started, totally under the radar in Essex. Not the first place that comes to mind when you think of fine English wine or fine wine in general, but it's actually been doing a really good job growing and selling quality grapes for quite a while now. East Anglia has got some of the warmest, driest parts of the British Isles, so it makes sense. And we had noticed some very promising Pinot Noir, hadn't we?
So this is the Danbury Ridge Estate, which is owned by Michael and Heather Bunker and their daughters Janine and Sophie. It was established in 2014, not far from Chelmsford, if you know the area. It's between the Blackwater and Crouch rivers in Essex, near sort of Malden. It's a great site. It's a beautiful vineyard. One of those places you go to and you think, this is special. Yeah. And they got the wonderful Liam Idzikowski along to make the wine too, who we know. And together, they very, very kindly, foolishly, agreed to let us have a barrel of their top Pinot. It's not every day you go to wine and say, do you mind if we have a barrel of your top Pinot?
Well, let us muck around with it as well and blend the thing.
On that note, it nearly ended in disaster for a different reason, didn't it?
It was a tense moment. And we have to say, Liam didn't tell us this until after it had happened. But the barrels of 2018 Pinot had needed moving and they went on a lorry, but the lorry crashed.
Tense.
Everyone was okay, which was the most important thing. But the big question was, had the barrels survived? Or had they been smashed to smithereens or spilled our precious wine all over the road? Yeah. And, apparently it was, thank goodness we weren't there or knew about it, but it was a heart-in-mouth moment. But thankfully, you'll be pleased to hear, all the barrels were intact and the wine was safe.
Yeah, Liam did say later, he told us later that he'd seen wine barrels bounce from a 2-metre drop.
2 meters.
So they may be sturdier than we think. Yeah. Maybe, I'm just thinking there could be a game. There could be an Olympic sport in this moving forward. Barrel bouncing.
I'll leave that one with you.
Anyway, not with our wine inside, please. The barrels did make it finally into the very, very brand new winery in Essex, which is looking very impressive at Danbury Ridge. We tasted through all the barrels with Liam and made it was a sort of cherry picking blend of the barrels. Yeah. And
he really did let us.
He really did. We had totally free reign, which is
decide
very common.
what we thought the blend should be.
And this was their top Pinot. Right from the start, I think we were just blown away by the quality and style of Essex, of this Essex Pinot Noir, weren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a different dimension for English Pinot. It's got real richness and and spice to it. And actually, if you want to hear Liam talking about Essex and Pinot and more than that, we did interview him on our previous episode about the Big English Wine Adventure, which was Series 2, Episode 13. And we also talked to Emma Rice on the same programme. So, check that out if you'd like to hear more. But anyway, there we were with 3 unique English wines, 2 Hampshire Fizzes, 1 Essex Pinot Noir, and we needed something to do with them, didn't we?
Yeah. So the first thing we needed was a name.
Yep.
A name. So we've been running this competition, as described, and a huge thanks to everyone who got involved, by the way. Sorry to have kept you waiting so long for the result, but here we go. The winner of our naming competition is... Luke Wolfe for the name he came up with, which was Hope and Glory.
We don't do things in half measures,
Hope
do we?
and Glory.
Luke, we just loved everything that encompassed, a bit of pride in there, a bit of poetry.
I want to break out the bunting when I hear it. That's the
and it touched on the charity side of things too. So really, congratulations, Luke. You will be receiving a full set of the wines. So once we had the name, we needed some labels.
We did,
yeah.
as is traditional in the wine.
This was exciting, wasn't it?
And I think how the wines looked was always going to be really, really important for us. Wasn't
Very
it?
important.
They had to look, I don't know, different.
Yep.
Maybe sort of daring is a word we could use, but also, really ideally sort of almost collector's items type feel.
Yeah.
So
given the small quantities,
exactly.
we really wanted these to be special.
Now, the Pinot Noir was done in Danbury Ridge's unique sort of octagon configured bottle and classic label.
That has our names on, but it was their label.
Slightly different. Yeah. That was their sort of design. So we needed some sort of really special front labels for the 2 bottles of sparkling wine. And the answer quite literally appeared in front of our noses, didn't it?
It did. It was. We were on a walk in Winchester where we live. We'd been up and down a big hill. There's a huge hill that we walk up and down quite regularly. And as we were walking back under an old railway arch to the car park, we noticed what actually looked, it genuinely looked like a bit of litter and then some graffiti on the brickwork. What it turned out to be was, when we looked properly, the most beautiful picture of a boy whose kite, and this was a real kite coming out of the painting, and so his kite was stuck in a tree. It was beautiful. And we thought, wow, that would be good to have, or something like that. Anyway, after a bit of digging, we found out it was, because obviously we hadn't got a clue who'd done this beautiful image, created it, painted it, and we found out it was by an artist called Hendog, and we thought, this is the look we want for our wines.
It definitely was, wasn't it? It was sort of a light bulb moment. And the only problem was, we didn't know who Hendog was or how to find him or her.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that. Street art is mostly still illegal. It's deemed to be vandalism because most walls are owned by someone. So, you risk prosecution if you're caught. That's why anonymity is important. But, it didn't make it easy for us trying to work out. We've had this sort of light bulb moment, but how we then went about.
Well, we got there in the end, though, and managed to get in touch. We didn't know who we were dealing with or what kind of reception we'd get, but Hendog was amazing right from the get-go, incredibly supportive, particularly because of the charitable angle, having already done a lot for charity, food banks, the NHS, and other causes.
Yeah. Now, I did speak to Hendog, but the need for anonymity, I guess, trumped the desire to be interviewed on this podcast. But I did pick out 4 sort of key headlines, key takeaways from our chat.
Go on, let's hear them.
So the first is that Banksy, perhaps the most famous street artist, and I should say we're not going to be outing Banksy on this podcast as well.
I think
that's not
Banksy's
one of our announcements. Banksy has been an inspiration for Hendog, but not as much as French street artist C215 and the way that he emotionally captures people. And those are Hendog's words. That C215's work, well worth checking out, actually. Second thing is that leading on from this, Hendog tends to portray kids because that's the easiest way to emotionally manipulate adults. That's
fair enough.
Hendog's words. And the third is that Hendog's signature style uses 7 different tones, the end result being quite Banksy-esque, but Hendog says it was never meant to end up there.
But you said 4 points.
Is that not 4?
Yeah, no, that's 3. That's
sorry,
3.
Okay,
Come on, there's another.
Yeah. So Hendog is campaigning for Winchester's first free wall. For people to paint and express themselves legally. Hendog says this is a cultural art form, especially for people from lower income areas. It's their only way to get noticed. It does no harm. It channels creativity. It helps build a portfolio. But at the moment, they can't do it legally.
Okay, so we hope you're listening, Winchester Council. then they can. And
Yeah.
other local authorities, I suppose, around the world. for
Everyone
that
around
matter,
the
yeah,
world.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
I mean, come on. Anyway,
Yeah.
we should say that Hendog has designed us two utterly beautiful, totally striking labels for both sparkling wines. We're not going to reveal what they actually look like just yet. That's coming. But I can disclose that there's a secret truth or message hidden in the pictures, which I am not allowed to reveal. At least not yet.
Cryptic.
Mm.
I don't think I even know what
well.
you're talking about. Okay, well.
You rarely do.
I rarely do, so I'm just thinking, fine, whatever. We've got lots of other revelations in this programme, which we need to get on with, but
come on
it's
then.
just
Yep.
great, can I say, to
Yeah.
have Hendog on board for this project. We're honoured,
Yeah.
and that contribution has made these bottles true collector's items.
Yeah, yeah.
Each bottle has an exclusive limited edition print on it.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Fabulous.
I promise we are building up to tell you exactly how you can get these special bottles from the 25th of November. But for now, we do need to address one of the crucial elements of this project. Who or what is our charity partner?
Can I do the honours this time?
You can, but I'm still on the drums.
Oh, okay, fine,
Right,
fine.
So-
Go.
Okay, so go on then. Do you want? Okay, do you want to build up
Shall
to
I
it?
start? So our charity partner for the Big English Wine Adventure is the Marine Conservation Society.
Woohoo!
Woo! So thanks to Sally Hitt for suggesting that one. A set of wines will be winging their way to you, Sally, and we couldn't be more thrilled, could we?
No,
I mean,
We've-
really,
we've-
so
I think
exciting.
We've worked with lots of charities over the years, from our Wine Festival Winchester every year to raising funds, running marathons and hosting events. But we wanted this one to be different, didn't we? Something that went beyond wine, but was relevant to it. So, the Marine Conservation Society is exactly that. It's a UK-based organisation, but with ambitious aims to revive and restore our seas, and in doing so, have a global impact in terms of pollution, education, and also climate change. Which is of course very relevant to wine and wine producers.
Yeah, they do so much great work. Including, so they've got the Good Fish Guide, which rates fish in terms of sustainability
really
from red
interesting.
to green. So most cod is red, most hake is green, for example.
Yeah.
Did we know that? I didn't know that.
It's really interesting to take a
But
look at, actually.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah, and this is an attempt, obviously, to counter overfishing and species decline, but also to retain ecosystems and carbon stores in ocean sediments. The MSC also developed practical systems to counter things like seagrass loss, and they were instrumental in getting shops to charge for plastic bags. I didn't know that, which has reduced apparently by half the amount of plastic bags washing up on UK beaches.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work they're doing, which is just having a lot of impact. And we wanted to hear a bit more about their work and how the money from the Big English Wine Adventure would help them. I spoke to Corporate Partnerships Manager Richard Roberts and asked him to start with a little introduction.
The Marine Conservation Society is a UK-based organisation, and we focus, our mission is to fight for the future of our ocean by driving political, cultural and social change through people-powered action with science on our side. So I guess loosely translated, that means that based on scientific data, we work to recover the health of our ocean with our supporters, partners and volunteers.
So you talk about recovering the health of our ocean, fighting for the ocean. Just in terms of very simple basics for those of us who don't necessarily see the bigger picture, why do we need clean, better protected seas? You talk about an ocean emergency. What does that mean?
Our ocean is a massive resource. It covers 70% of the Earth's surface, provides 50% of the oxygen that we breathe. It absorbs almost a third of carbon emissions that we emit. More on top of that, it's a massive food supply for us as humans, and it provides support for livelihoods. Not only, it also provides a big support for physical and emotional well-being. So that's really why it's so important.
And I was reading that you say only 1% or something like that of the ocean is actually really sustainably, properly managed with proper oversight, but you want to make that number much bigger into, say, a third of the ocean. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some pretty big goals at the Marine Conservation Society. So by 2030, we're looking for 30% of UK waters to be effectively managed. and protected, the wildlife and ecosystems within them protected. And we also want to see a huge downward trend on pollution levels, and also calling for those fish stocks to be at sustainable levels.
Yeah, why is this important then? Especially, specifically referring to the UK. Why do we need to protect the coastline and erosion and these sort of pollution? How important is it for us?
We're slowly seeing human impact, whether that be walking on a beach and seeing the litter, to seeing some erosion around the coast that has been brought on because maybe species of plants that used to be there have received too much pressure and now they're being degraded. So an example of that is seagrass, which grows in quite sheltered water around the UK coast, which is diminished by about 92% around the UK shores, largely due to the pressure of recreational use within harbour areas. And that has a big knock-on impact for the small fish it can shelter and harbour in those ecosystems, and also the natural erosion barrier that causes to the coast. And more so, I mean, that plant in itself delivers a lot of oxygen and also sequestrates a lot of carbon. So it's a massively important plant in our fight for climate change.
So how are you helping to restore that or protect it?
So we have a project that is restoring around the whole of the British Isles. We're part of a wider project, which is replanting seagrass. And we're advocating this message and teaching the next generation, because that's a hugely important task that we take on, to talk in schools about seagrass, why it's important and the benefits that it brings to us. But I guess the thing with the work that we do particularly is that a lot of it is driven from our volunteers, from our supporters and from our partners. And that's why partnering with companies and getting the support from your listeners, Peter, and people that advocate for the sea and the benefits of it is vitally important, because as I said at the beginning, our organization is driven by data. We're data scientists at heart, and that data collection is incredibly important to us. We need to be able to collect that data to then advocate for policy change and bring around these changes, to bring around these solutions, put more funding into practice. So big projects, big joined up projects like implementing the regeneration of seagrass can go ahead. A big project that your listeners may have heard of is our Great British Beach Clean, which happens every year in the penultimate week of September. And it's part of a larger project we have called Beach Watch. And in that project, anyone listening can get involved, go down to your beach, visit our website first, Marine Conservation Society, and look for a beach clean near you. And if you want to, you can sign up and create your own beach clean. And by doing so, what you're doing is you're becoming a citizen scientist. You're signing up to clean a 100-meter section of a beach. And in that 100-meter section, all the litter items can be identified. All sorts of things can be found on the beach, tiny and big. And all of those items recorded present a huge wealth of information to us. And what we do with that information is we put it into national and international data sets. And then that data can then be used to advocate for change. And an example of that is the 5p levy that came around on the plastic bags that we were charged at supermarkets. And since we all know the story of how that's come about, I mean, I go into a supermarket now and I'm always carrying my own bags, and rarely do I even get asked, would you like a bag? So I think over a very short period of time, we've seen a big dramatic change there, which has had a massive impact on our environment generally, and of course our ocean. So this data and people's involvement within our organization to collect data is vastly important, and that's why That's why I'm really glad to be sat here with you talking about it.
Well, no, it's wonderful. I mean, one of my questions was going to be how can people help? How else can people help if they'd like to? So that's great. You covered that. Thank you. Let's get on our hands and knees on the beach. But, just specifically to this project then, how will the money from the Big English Wine Adventure help you? If people are buying the wine, where's their money going to be going?
The money from this particular project will be going into us as a whole. So it will be going in to support all of that wonderful work that I talked about previously. All the campaigns we're running, from microfiber, stop microfiber threads from washing machines, to Don't Let Go campaign of talking about air pollution and not letting go of balloons, to the work we're doing around seagrass, to the schools we talk to. It really goes to the body of work and the breadth of work that we do. So it couldn't be going to a more valuable place.
And wine is very vulnerable to climate change. So, we wine lovers need to support this kind of thing. Sustainability is so important, and the ocean's so important to climate change, as you've mentioned. Any final messages to our listeners?
Well, I would firmly encourage all listeners to go out and really support the Big English Wine Adventure and indulge in some amazing wines that have been created by some brilliant English producers and winemakers. And with that, you'll have a good heart in knowing that where the funds from those will be going. Incredibly generous, 100% of profits going to the Marine Conservation Society. And we can't thank you enough for that. Here's to a good Christmas and drinking some delicious wine.
Richard Roberts of the Marine Conservation Society, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So there you have it. All the profits from our Big English Wine Adventure will be going to the excellent Marine Conservation Society. So supporting this project means supporting our oceans, our fish, our planet, and ourselves. And you can drink some delicious wine while you're at it.
Always. Now, we couldn't have done this without some very serious help. We've already mentioned Hattingley Valley and Danbury Ridge. We should also mention Royston Labels, who've only gone and done us the sparkling labels free of charge. And Boxes and Packaging, who've given us a helping hand with our very smart gift boxes, and all the wines will be arriving in those recyclable cardboard, etc. But there's also one other big partner we need to mention. We've already touched on them, but we need to go into a bit more detail.
We do, yeah. And obviously that is the Wine Society. They are, I think most people in this country would agree, one of the UK's very best wine retailers. They're also extremely generous because they have not only agreed to sell our Big English Wine Adventure wines, but they're waiving their margin, they're covering the delivery charges, they're even covering or reimbursing the duty or alcohol tax, which really is quite something.
It really is. They will have exclusivity on the 3-bottle gift sets of the wines. To explain this a bit more, the wines are only being sold in gift sets or sets of individual bottles rather than whole cases. That's just so we can spread them around as much as possible because they're so limited. The 3-bottle sets will be the only ones that include a bottle of the Pinot Noir because, we only had one, we could only blag one barrel of that. So there's only about 250 bottles of the Pinot Noir. And the 3-bottle sets will also have a bottle each of the Blanc de Blanc and the blend. So those are the 3 bottles. And that'll sell for £120, which does sound quite a lot for 3 bottles, but the wines are priced very much along the lines of what the equivalents from Hattingley and Danbury would sell at. Plus, of course, you're supporting the charity. And of course, that you're getting these collector's items, like you said, the labels.
You are, yeah. And then because we have more bottles of the sparkling wines, we'll also be selling those via Hattingley Valley's website, which is www.hattingleyvalley.com. There are going to be some 2-bottle packs to include both of the sparkling wines, which will sell for £75. Then single bottles of the blend for £35.
So that is where you can find the wines. They will be going live on Thursday, the 25th of November, 2021, during the Instagram Live we'll be doing with the Wine Society, whose Instagram handle, by the way, is at the Wine Society 1874. You'll need your fingers on the trigger because, as I say, there's only 250 odd of the 3-bottle cases, only 700 odd bottles beyond that of the Blanc de Blanc, and not much more of the blend. So get ready, I think, is the message.
It is indeed.
Please.
Now, one big thing we haven't touched on, the elephant in the room, are these wines actually any good? Are they worth people's time and money.
The big question. Good point. So, a few days ago was the first time we had all three of the finished wines in our hands. We couldn't wait to try them in both a good way and a slightly nervous way.
We were really nervous.
Here is an abridged but still pretty chaotic version of how things went down. And please excuse our overexcitement. Okay, so this is a very big moment, I think it's fair to say.
It's a big moment.
Big moment. We're coming to the big room for this big moment, which is probably a bit echoey.
It's a bit echoey,
but we have got our big English wine adventure wines, all three wines for the very first time. We are trying the finished wines.
Yeah, we've tried them before when they were in the process of being made, but these are the finished ones. They've got labels on. They're looking amazing. And here goes the first one. Okay, so I'm going to have a go at the first one here. Let me get the wire off. And this is the blend.
Here we go. You ready?
So
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We've waited 5 years
for this moment.
All right, and here it comes. Listen.
It's too exciting.
This is your dreams going into the
nice,
glass.
Gentle, beautifully soft. Well, it looks good.
It's looking good. It's looking like sparkling wine, which is...
It's definitely fizzy.
Which is amazing. So this is the blend. It is 50% Pinot Meunier, 50% Chardonnay, all from Hampshire.
Or Meunier, to be
Or just
trendy.
Meunier, however you want to be.
It looks beautifully
There's a depth
golden.
to the colour.
There is quite a bit of depth to that colour, which is just fantastic.
Try it, then I can try it.
Let's have a...
So, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's gorgeous. It's so orchardy. Oh my goodness.
Orchardy, get you.
That's lovely. That's like really, apples and pears and delicious.
It's really fresh and fragrant, isn't it?
But it's got almost a little bit of spice. It is bready. It's got that lovely orchard fruit. It's got very fine mousse, very fine bubbles. How good is that?
Oh my God, we did it.
Not alone.
No, it's a credit.
Alone.
Emma Rice,
Oh.
Hattingley Valley team. That's outstanding wine. That is beautiful. Thank you to everyone who's helped us make that, and there has been a lot of help. But we did help make blend and make some key decisions. I think that's tasting beautiful.
Make blend. We did help make blend.
Right, I'm going to open this
You
next
can't
one.
speak, can
So
you?
that's
So
the blend.
excited.
That's the Meunier Chardonnay blend.
Blend.
Third aged in oak, all Hampshire fruits.
Yeah.
Dosage of 9 grams per litre.
2017.
And it's a 2017 vintage.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
here we
yeah,
go
yeah.
for the
Okay.
next one.
So this is our Blanc de Blanc.
This is the Blanc de Blanc
So it's
2016.
all Chardonnay, all
Okay,
Chardy. Here we go. And this is 2016. Great vintage, nice sort of concentrated vintage. I won't talk while you pour
I should have made a bit more of a pot there. That was a bit...
That was a definitely very controlled. Very controlled Blanc de Blanc.
Now this one's
It's a little bit
a little bit
paler.
greener, but it's still quite a good depth of hue.
Yeah, lovely
Right,
bubbles.
I'm going to try this one first.
Oh yeah, the more mineral, more steely that one, isn't
That's
it?
really stylish,
More
really
lemony.
tangy, really structured, mouth-watering acidity. That's beautiful. Very different style, much more kind of electric, invigorating.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but stylish, elegant, and really mouth-watering on the finish. Oh my goodness.
two really different.
And you can see, actually, but unfortunately you can't see, anybody out there, buy them and then you'll be able to see. But there is quite a difference in colour. The blend
But,
is
the
the
2016 is a
more
year
golden.
older, and it actually looks like a younger wine.
It does look younger.
And it almost tastes like
Blanc
a
de
younger
Blanc.
wine. But it's a
Gosh,
very
I
different style.
can't stop
So a
drinking that.
rich,
Right.
fragrant blend and a much more steely, tangy sort of Blanc de Blanc. And that's from Hampshire, same, third aged in oak, and a year older. So now...
Final wine, the red, the
red.
Essex red.
The Essex Red Pinot Noir by Danbury Ridge in Essex, which we made with Liam Ichikowski and the team at Danbury. Thank you so much. Right, who's tasting? You taste this one.
Can I
first.
taste it
Yeah,
first?
right, cool.
So what? You tell us what it looks like.
It just looks like Pinot. It looks like really good Pinot.
It looks like because it's quite concentrated colour for Pinot, but
It
not
is actually.
not ridiculously
Actually, it's probably deeper
so.
colour than a lot of English Pinots. So, what does it smell like?
Creamy damsons and beautiful sort of that dark hedgerow fruit. That is lovely.
Oh my word, that smells.
That's properly earthy. You know what you want from Pinot, where you want that sort of lift and elegance. It's got a decent whack of oak, but it's totally integrated, and it's just really Pinot, really dark Pinot.
really fine tannin.
Gorgeous.
That needs a bit of food.
That needs food.
Well,
It
I think
needs
it would benefit
food.
from food, wouldn't it?
No, it doesn't need food, but it would be nice food.
It's
yes,
glorious,
yeah.
and it's so ripe and intense. You wouldn't.
But
that
savoury
in
as
England
well.
necessarily,
Savoury as
would you?
well, in that lovely Pinot kind of savoury way.
And
gamey.
it is fresh. Wow. Okay. There we go. 3 wines, they're all drinkable.
They're kind of more than drinkable. In fact, they're going to get drunk in about 5 minutes, I think.
They are all delicious. So we've
Stonking.
waited 5 years. How do we feel?
Very happy.
Very happy. And I think...
Very happy.
Excited.
I'm not patient as a person normally.
Excited. We can't wait for you guys to try these wines.
Yeah.
They are something special.
Sensational. And if you think this is just blowing our own trumpet, which would be a fair assumption, we did send them to the Wine Society's crack team for approval, which was another properly nerve-wracking moment, wasn't it?
It was.
Anyway, Director of Wine Pierre Mansour said he was, and I quote, blown away by them. And he wrote to us to say, I was expecting them to be good, which was nice of him in the first place, but he said, but they're great. And his Insta description was stylish, refined, delicious, exactly why we all need to be part of Susie and Peter's big English wine adventure.
Well, it's very kind of him. And it was a special moment, wasn't it?
It
was a huge relief.
Huge relief, massive relief.
We'd sent our work in to be marked by the headmaster and it came back with decent marks.
Indeed. Now, we did also do a whole bunch of recordings trying the wines out with different foods, but when we played it back, it just sounded like us talking overexcitedly with our mouths full.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd spare you that and instead just summarise our thoughts.
It was a bit indecent, really.
It wasn't
indecorous at the best. But anyway, my favourite pairing was the Pinot Noir with a really good pork pie and dollop of chutney. Now, we did try the wine with lots of things. We tried it with charcuterie, which worked well, didn't it? Also, a chicken and mushroom pie. I think I just wanted an excuse to eat lots of pies.
There is a pie theme here, isn't there?
There is a pie.
Anybody who knows you will know how much you love pies.
Excuse. It was best, though, with the pork pie and the chutney. And partly because it took me back to one of the most formative wine experiences of my life, working in a wine shop on Christmas Eve, working like a dog until about 4 p.m. when we finally closed. And someone went and bought some game pie and chutney from the shop next door, and we drank Grand Cru Red Burgundy, the only bottle that hadn't been sold. And it was just a magical moment. And this, for me, was the same, wasn't it? It worked really well.
Yeah. If only every work break was like that, eh? Yeah. But anyway, then I made some cheese straws with rosemary and anchovy. They went really well with the blend sparkling wine. The sort of, I think it was to do with the juiciness of the wine that offset the saltiness of the cheese. I have to say, these cheese straws are just the best. They are incredibly easy to make, and I'm going to put the recipe on our show notes because they are really worth having a go at. SusieandPeter.com for that.
Yeah, and then finally, the winner with the Blanc de Blanc was just a plate of fish and chips. Such a fun match, a beautifully British experience. So good, so good.
That's us done.
I think it is.
So to recap, don't miss the Big English Wine Adventure wines going on sale on Thursday, the 25th of November, during our Instagram Live with the Wine Society. Thanks to them, also to Hattingley Valley and Danbury Ridge, superstars, one and all.
Yeah, thanks also to Royston Labels and Boxes and Packaging. Thank you also to several key people who've participated along the way, not least superstar winemakers Emma Rice and Leah Mijkowski, but also people like Jacob Ledley, Gareth Maxwell, Jim Bowerman, Matthew Horsley, Pierre Mansour, Jack Woodman, Bruce Green, John Atkinson, Chris and Paddy Bowerman, and of course, Hendog.
Thanks to everyone at the Marine Conservation Society and particularly Richard Roberts. And of course, thanks to you for listening and for joining us on this big English wine adventure. Here's to Mad Projects, English wine, and here's to you. Cheers.